national spokeswoman for the Donald Trump campaign. Katrina Pierson is here with me, as well as CBS News senior political editor Steve Shigaris. Again, Katrina, we just saw Juliana Goldman's piece there. We heard the words anew from Marco Rubio, from Ted Cruz, a Texas senator, who was as harsh a critic as any, using words like serial philanderer to describe him. How then can men such as these be considered credible messengers for the nominee?
Well, because the Republican Party is not a monolithic voting bloc, and that's what you're seeing take place today. You're seeing Republicans from all walks in policy coming together, and that's what party unity is all about. It's particularly interesting when you bring people on that worked for McCain in his campaign, lost several times in his bid for presidency, trying to give the Trump campaign advice. Donald Trump has been able to do what no other Republican has been able to do. He has grown the tent. He has broken the record in GOP turnout, won 38 states, and is on his way to win in November. The reason why a lot of these candidates are not here is it's just simply sour grapes. I do expect these individuals to come out and support the nominee, number one, because they pledged to, and number two, because right now we are at a point to where it is time to unify in November.
But they weren't making policy critiques. Those were deeply personal critiques. And you talk about growing the tent. The polls suggest that 14% of Hispanics will vote for Donald Trump. Perhaps generously, 1 to 2% of African Americans will vote for Donald Trump. How big is that tent? And again, if it was merely a question of policy, that would be one thing. But these are vanquished rivals, but ones that tore at him personally.
This is politics. I'm not too concerned with the polls right now. We really haven't gotten into the contrasting message in those communities when you look at a Donald Trump's policies, proposals versus a Hillary Clinton, which we know for sure have failed those communities over the last 4 decades. We'll get to that. With regards to the other candidates, I mean, this is politics. If you go back to the beginning of history, look at when John Adams ran, look at Thomas Jefferson. These were not nice politeness. So there were harsher words even spoken in some of those campaigns than today. I mean, we have nice campaigns if you're looking at campaigning today versus that in the past. That's politics. We are at a point now to where it is time to come together, and that's what you're seeing happen. We have Governor Pence, who's also going to be speaking tonight, that's going to make the case.
You have Governor Kasich, though, the governor of the state that we're sitting in currently, not coming to the convention. Granted, they had a rough primary fight with Donald Trump. Isn't some of this on Trump to reach out to Kasich to say, please come, join the tent? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of that. You're still seeing Trump tweeting at Kasich. You still see Kasich out there criticizing Trump. At one point, I mean, Ohio is a big state in the fall. He could use Kasich's help, organization, support. When's the outreach going to happen? If it hasn't happened by now, is it going to happen?
Well, it has happened. Mr. Trump has kept his promises. He has continuously met with leaders, even before having enough delegates to lock up the nomination in months past. He has spoken out to Kasich's campaign people. Everyone was invited to this convention, and he made his choice. And as you've seen, many people in this room boo last night when his name was mentioned, because it's also incumbent upon current party leaders to make that effort to bring the party together. If it is truly about the party and winning in November, which we know now, it's not about that for some individuals. It's about themselves.
But isn't there a concern within the campaign that there are just so many Republicans, high-profile Republicans, that haven't jumped aboard the Trump train, so to speak? I mean, you're going to need these folks in the fall, right?
Well, the reason why we're not concerned is because this is exactly the type of politician that Donald Trump ran against. He doesn't want to be seen as one of those politicians. What he does want to do is reach out to those politicians and say, look, the people have decided. We're talking about 13 million votes in a pool of 17 candidates. Donald Trump doesn't want to capitulate those policies. He's not going to submit to what they want, which is more government control, more globalism, illegal immigration. That's completely against what the voters wanted. It is incumbent upon those leaders today who are in office to take those steps to now come into the Donald Trump tent, as he's already reached out to them.
Katrina, I do need to ask you, as a national spokesperson for this campaign, the controversies surrounding accusations of plagiarism with regard to Melania Trump's speech Monday night continue to hang over this campaign. We saw multiple responses by the campaign throughout the day yesterday. As a response evolved, I guess you could say, I'd like you to take us inside then, the decisions made as they responded to those charges yesterday.
Well, first, Melania Trump did not plagiarize Michelle Obama's speech, and I'd mentioned this several times yesterday. You can look back at Elizabeth Dole's speech in 1996 and see some of the phrases that Michelle Obama actually used in that speech.
There's a website that suggests that the likelihood that those two speeches use those words and those combinations is 1 in a trillion. So
no, I understand.
If that didn't happen, then that's a lottery win.
Let me finish. As well as Laura Bush in 2004, who gave similar scenarios. We're talking about inspirational phrases, words, tone.
That were used verbatim in a speech by Michelle Obama
first of all,
in 2008.
not all of them were actually verbatim. If you say, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
So is that plagiarism? So you're saying this was that was coincidental? You are saying this was coincidental?
What I'm saying is there's absolutely similarities in those phrases. Like I said, Michelle Obama repeated verbatim something Elizabeth Dole said in 1996. That's what I'm saying. If it was a life story or some instance like that, then I would understand your point. These were things like work hard, respect people. That's not plagiarism. Those are inspirational words that are being repeated.
They were precise sentences lifted verbatim. The whole paragraphs lifted.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
We're talking about less than 55 words out of 1,300.
Two speechwriters contracted to work on what they say was an early draft of this speech have spoken. Reports suggest that they turned the speech in. They were told it was fine. Then they sat down to watch it, and it bore little, if no, resemblance to what they had provided, that the paragraphs in question here were added after they submitted. What can you tell us about who vetted that speech and just how much it was vetted?
Well, Mrs. Trump actually had some people working with her. She wanted to articulate the way she felt, that her parents instilled her values in her. But I think the most important part here is what she actually said in the speech and not the inspirational tone of her values, which is the fact that she was an immigrant and she had a dream and she came to this country and she learned the language and she became an American citizen and she built a brand and she built a business and she became a mom. That's what's important here.
She also said she wrote the speech.
She also said she wrote the speech with help. And I noticed the media always leaves out the second part of that sentence. She did say she had help. She did not say she wrote this speech all by herself.
And so the help she refers to is the help she received after the early draft of that speech was submitted.
Well, she had help along the way. English is not her first language. She sat down with her employees and wanted to tell her story, and that's where a lot of that came from.
Very pointedly, Hillary Clinton has been the most name-checked politician here at the Republican National Convention thus far.
Rightly so.
And we heard as a part of the response yesterday from the campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, essentially saying he blamed this controversy and these allegations on Hillary Clinton. Was that a legitimate position to take?
Well, I think if you're running a campaign against someone and something insignificant is blown out of proportion, it's safe to assume that the other candidate is involved, particularly when you see it blow up from individuals that are supporting the campaign. Even when it's the media, it's no secret that the media is not out there pushing Hillary Clinton's points. We've seen that every day in this campaign. The mainstream media is protective of the Clintons. They have been for a very long time, protective of the Democrat Party. And that's why even last night, you had two speeches from Mr. Trump's children that were absolutely phenomenal. And even still, you had the media finding something negative to say. Look, it's no secret. The Trump campaign is not expecting to wake up any morning and see anything positive from the media. But what we're going to do is stay on message. Melania Trump, she looked fabulous. She sounded fabulous. Gave a wonderful, inspiring speech. Just as his children, we're going to continue that message today on making America great again and getting back to the basics with common sense governance.
And I know many members of the media will continue to look into allegations of plagiarism, which
and we have a two-term
serious
president, Joe Biden, who actually was a plagiarist.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. Katrina Pierson, as always, we appreciate the time. Steve Shigaris, I know you're with us all throughout the day. We appreciate you being here this morning as well.